presented by GhostBed.com.
Yes, welcome to the final presidential debate of 2020. This one is for all of Joe Biden's marbles. No? Two on the nose, or?
I don't think marbles are involved.
Okay. That's about all he's got rolling around up in that old dome of his. Tonight's
funny?
is sponsored by Adderall, by the way.
It is, yeah. I was looking up. It has to be because it's already 7:45. It's way past my bedtime. I was looking for who owns something else, right? That was my Google search. Then you said marbles, and for some reason my brain decided to find out who owns marbles. So according to Google, Marble Arms is owned by themselves.
Great.
They make guns and reflex sights and shit like that.
Look at that.
And they've been around since 1892 in Gladstone, Michigan. I've never heard of this company.
I love them. I love their work in the late 1800s. I'm always a big fan of their craftsmanship.
Is there only one company that makes marbles? Like, look, if you're trying to, for example, and I'm not trying, we're not getting paid by these guys or anything.
Obviously.
But if you were trying to dye some motherfucking Easter eggs.
Right.
Pause is the only place you go. If you go anywhere else, you're kind of an asshole. Right?
Correct.
It's like, what are you crazy?
Yeah.
Fucking pause, brother.
Pause, man.
So is there something like that for marbles as well?
One would imagine.
Is there somewhere I'm going to get
It's kind of like yo-yos, right? Yo-yos only has one maker, I believe.
I think Yo-Yo is actually a brand. Oh, God.
Yeah, I can hear myself on that.
I think Yo-Yo is actually a brand name, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kind of like Band-Aid.
Walter Mitty just said, let's get this party started. You're goddamn right. We got Ranch Water up in this piece tonight, who was giving us a fine palette of their finest. This is the original Ranch Water, by the way. This is the real ones. These are the big dogs. These are the drinks we were talking about in Texas when we moved here. Everybody was like, I'm drinking Ranch Water. Yeah. This is the original. I guess there's some knockoffs of it. But the ones on our desk are the actual Ranch Waters. These are the ones that I'm hooked on, that I keep drinking. This and Vizzy all the time.
I drink those. I drink Vizzy. I drink wine, and I drink water, and that's pretty much it.
I've got two of the three as well.
Yeah.
Here tonight. It's going to be fascinating, kids. There's going to be a mute button in progress tonight, and I have a feeling Homegirl's going to be clicking that herself. Is it like Jeopardy where she just clicks it over and over and over again?
I think it would be a really fun game, like a saw type game, if every time she clicked it to mute one of them, it gave her a little jolt.
It'd be great.
And she had to hold it down if she didn't want Trump to speak.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I want to see that woman in the streets with the beanie cap on screaming at the sky after Trump got elected. She can shut him up.
Be
and
great.
all she's got to do is press this button and sends 50,000 volts of electricity through her body. And go. Be the best reality television of all fucking time.
All fucking time. Wherever you're joining us around the globe, hammer the like button. Same rules apply as the last debates, kids. We're going to be putting up the debate as soon as it starts in the middle of this screen. You'll be able to hear that crystal clear, and then as well as our remarks on top of it. We try to keep it at a minimum. However, tonight, because there is a mute button, I have a feeling we'll get to say a lot more shit tonight.
Yeah.
They're not doing any foreign policy tonight. That is definitely a negative for Trump.
Foreign policy?
Correct.
It's a negative for him. What do you mean?
They're not going to talk about any foreign policy tonight.
Oh, yeah.
On
it's
the
not
show.
good for him, because his foreign policy has been pretty good, actually.
Pretty good.
What are the Abraham Accords with all the Arab countries signing peace deals with Israel, shit like that? He's been doing pretty well. As much as they like to fucking pretend like he's losing the battle internationally with regard to economics, that's demonstrably not true, right? Our trade deficit is the best it's been in a long time. So we'll see what happens with this. I mean, look, you should expect a couple things. You should definitely expect Trump to go pretty hard on the Hunter Biden stuff now that he's apparently invited his former business partner to be his guest at the debate.
Really?
Yeah.
What nationality? Are they Russian or?
No, he's a former lieutenant in the Navy, actually.
Oh, okay. Just making sure it wasn't Russia or Ukraine. You never know. You never know. Wanted to check that out, obviously, because is Hunter, now are they patting him down before he gets in tonight, or how's that going to work?
No, I think you can bring drugs, just not guns.
Ah, gotcha.
The Secret Service doesn't give a fuck if you're doing cocaine. I'm not saying the Secret Service does cocaine.
Right.
But I would be if I was. Come on. I'll never be a Secret Service agent now. Shit.
Ever. No, you blew your dream.
You said right here on October 22nd, 2020, that if you would join this organization, you'd be doing cocaine. Like, yeah.
Yep.
Did say that on
Yeah.
a comedy show, so shut the fuck up.
By the way, I did some quick research on the 2016 debates because I was like, man, were they as wild as this? Like, do you remember how wild they were? In one of the debates, Trump brought all of the women that had allegedly been raped by Bill Clinton. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Sat him right in the front row. I don't know why this feels crazier for some reason. Like, clearly 2016 was out of control. So, a couple things to look for tonight is whether or not Biden is finally going to answer the question of will he pack the Supreme Court. My guess is no on that. He also skirted the issue on 60 Minutes. I caught a part of that when I got home after fake news today, so I doubt he will answer that tonight. If I'm Trump, I hammer him on it, but they're going to mute him, so we'll see how that works out. If I'm Trump, I also bring up the crime bill over and over and over again. We'll see if that plays, and I'm sure Biden will bring up his taxes.
Yeah, they interviewed, who was it?
For 60 Minutes?
Yeah, no, I don't know who actually did the interview.
Leslie Stahl.
No. Hunter Biden's ex-business associate. His name is Tony Bobolinsky, right?
Yeah.
And he's a former lieutenant. I mean, it's a great name, isn't it? He's a former lieutenant in the Navy or some shit like that. And here's what this is just 90 minutes ago. Actually, this is an hour ago.
Really?
He said,
he's a Bobolinsky.
He said, I have heard Joe Biden say he has never discussed his dealings with Hunter. That is false. I have firsthand knowledge about this because I directly dealt with the Biden family, including Joe Biden. And there's I don't know if you've read the story of this guy already, but he's turning over all of his electronic devices with all of his emails and stuff over to the FBI willingly.
Okay.
Because he thinks these people are full of shit.
Well, buckle up. We got about 12 days until the election, and I have a feeling the worst of it is not over by a long shot. Tonight's debate will be pure madness. It'll be absolutely ugly, and I'm here for all of it. The best TV on the planet right now. And then next week, something fucked up will happen.
Oh, yeah.
Corey Roper wants to know, are we taking a shot every time Trump gets muted or every time Biden says, here's the deal?
Oof.
Yes, that was actually what we were going to say. So every time Biden says, here's the deal, you drink. We're going to drink. We're going to drink some ranch water on the show. Every time Trump gets muted, you take a drink. Will we be blackouts drunk and maybe not be able to finish the show? Perhaps. We'll see. But if you're watching at home with us, feel free, and then obviously go ahead and set the alarm now in case you do blackouts so you can get up and take the kids to school.
Yeah, go ahead and call the school and tell them you're not bringing your kids in tomorrow because, they're sick.
Shout out to Megan Niles Murphy and Megan Murphy Niles and her husband Roger. They invited us out to dinner, but we're here. Look, we're going to be doing this election coverage for a long time. Some friends of mine from college, she is married to a member of the military. And we've been doing shows, how many, Giorgio? Pretty much, 3 or 4 a day at this point? 22 shows this week. So it's been crazy. We feel like we live here, and we are grateful for our liquor sponsors who just keep us propped up, and then obviously whoever's supplying Dana's drugs.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we absolutely thank you.
Yeah, for the drugs.
For the drugs, obviously. You got a guy here? You getting those shipped in?
For what?
The drogas, the marijuanas.
Oh, it's all over the place, man.
Is it?
Yeah. I
I
mostly just find it lying around.
You always find it. I never get the guy who just comes out to me on the streets. It's like, hey man, I've got all these drugs.
Well, you need to look harder, I guess. I don't know what to tell you, guy.
That is noted. My man, that is absolutely noted. What else is noted tonight is we're brought to you by ghostbed.com/Drinkin Bros. You see the logo up behind my shoulder. 30% off to everybody who's in the military, first responder, a teacher, or works in the government. So everybody on the debate stage is probably eligible tonight for that. Also, if you're a regular dum-dum like myself, 30% off of bundle packages. Go to ghostbed.com, 30% off.
Just
It's been a long day, but we're getting fucked up today. We're getting wasted tonight, baby. Everybody, I know, right? Because GhostBed is on line one. What? We're not giving the fucking beds away, Ross. How much you been drinking today? I tell you what, I've been drinking enough to put up with whatever we're going to watch tonight, and I'm all in. Everybody on the boards is like, hey, man, how wet are you getting tonight? Sun We've already started. This was a hard noon day today.
Yep.
This is going to get fucking weird tonight. And I'm excited. I'm amped for this. I imagine for women, it's probably when like a Real Housewives of whatever reunion show comes on and you guys all huddle around. It's like, I know my wife watches the shit out of that. And it's just really hunkered in, oh my gosh. And they're all zoomed in with fucking fresh Botox and all that other shit. This is our male Super Bowl. We realize this is ridiculous, but we're amped about it.
Amped is an interesting word.
Isn't it?
It reminds me of giving that lady the mute button and then it electrocutes her every time she presses it. You remember that episode of Black Mirror where you could mute somebody and it just like made them invisible to you and they couldn't talk to you or whatever the fuck?
Yeah.
Man, that'd be great.
It'd be awesome.
I would do that to everybody.
Yeah.
Until like it would be, I would just set, if there was a setting to just make everybody like that and then I could like give a couple of people access, but know that I'll take it back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be great for me. That'd be perfect.
It'd be perfect for you. We're about 7 minutes away now from the debate. What do you think, Dan? Has anybody not made up their mind? Like there was some people on the local news here in Austin who were just sitting in their house getting interviewed, and they were like, "Man, I still am on the fence, and I'm just waiting for tonight's debate to see who I'm going to choose." That's a lie, right? Everybody knows at this point.
I feel like it's probably a lie, right?
Yeah, everybody knows.
I don't know though. We saw that data before a couple of weeks ago that a lot of the people who quote unquote decided late or registered late or whatever it was went for Trump. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not a matter of them deciding. It probably means they've already decided. They're just coming to grips with that decision. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like walking up to the edge, looking over and be like, You look back and there's an asshole back there. And then you look back, look over the ledge. You're like, nah, that's socialism down there. Fuck that. And it seems like those people went ahead and voted for Trump last time. I would expect the same thing. There's nothing different this year than there was that year.
I don't think so either. Ooh, look at Melania. So she has not been on the campaign trail, and they made a big deal about that the last couple of days. They're like, oh, she's broken protocol. She's not on the campaign trail. She's too busy being hot. Jesus Christ, she's scorching tonight.
Broken protocol. What the fuck does that mean?
Cade Mangum. YouTube keeps giving me and a few others to retry the chat. We get a lot of messages in here tonight, so people are coming fast and furious pretty early here tonight. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the shadow ban, but you never know. If it's too fam, if it's too hashtag lit, hashtag fam, then
what does that mean to be too fam?
Too fam, dude. It's just you're homie. You got too many homies. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's a fucking struggle in these streets, Dan.
I've got a gun and it's right here. So if this doesn't stop real fast, I'm gonna stop it.
Did you imagine at the end of the debate, Dan just fucking shoots up the whole goddamn plays live on YouTube?
Did you see that? Did you see that Dallas Cowboys fan that punched his TV 6 times and then put 4 rounds into it?
Yes.
That was fucking really funny.
It's the best.
And all of us felt it too, especially everybody in this.
Bro.
Except for maybe I don't know Giorgio has felt this, but Fake Dan's an Eagles fan. I know he's feeling it right now. We're both Braves fans, so we're definitely feeling it. I've definitely wanted to murder several televisions.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Several of them.
That rant I went off on Atlanta Sports the other day, like I'm still getting messages from that of like, dude, I want to say that forever. All of us have, and everybody's got like a different team. Fake Dan doesn't have that luxury, and I keep forgetting because whenever I hear the Philadelphia Eagles, right, I automatically think worthless losers. But the year you won it was with Nick Foles, who didn't really count that year because he only played 1 year and then just left. So, yes, you won the Super Bowl, but I kind of feel like you're still a worthless loser, like with us. Is that weird? Because it was Nick Foles. Like, it didn't really count. It was just a nice run of like 4 games. Or anybody in Philadelphia. Like that 76ers team you guys have is disgusting, and they can't figure out how to play
We'll see what
together.
happens with Doc Rivers. I think
he's a great coach.
I think there's a lot of Catholic guilt up there in Philly.
I do too.
And they just like when things start to go well, they're like, I don't like this.
Self-sabotage.
Something is wrong.
Okay, so right now Kristen Welker is on. She's explaining how she's going to call this fair and balanced, which is all a lie, obviously. She kind of looks like a cross between Meghan Markle and Olivia Munn. And right now she's going to be like, well, I'm going to get started. We're all going to do this, and it's going to be great. Now, when I press the mute button, the candidates will know that it's muted. They just won't fucking care. Like, Trump's not going to care that he's muted tonight.
No, honestly, if he pulls out his own mic and his own fucking little speaker box, I would retire.
Yeah.
And just go.
If he brought out a boombox,
I'd go live in the street for the rest of my life. I'd live under that bridge next to my house for the rest of my life and just enjoy that moment. I'd play it over and over. I would beg for money for a couple of hours a day to get pills, weed, and then some electricity so I can rewatch this thing over and over.
That's what Eagles fans do to the Philly special.
That's what they do.
They just watch that play over and over.
Fourth and 28.
Yeah. Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah.
Freddie Mitchell never lies, dude.
He always delivers.
We got to get Fred X back on the show.
Yeah, we do need to.
Fake Dan wasn't here yet, but he's one of our homies. It's one of our favorite guests.
Yeah, he came to the Super Bowl with us.
He stayed with us at the Super Bowl.
We got
for a whole week.
4th and 26.
Yeah, 26. Stay with us for a week.
He is a fucking legend up there.
Oh yeah, dude.
I would never. If I was him, I would never leave Philly.
It also describes his prowess with the ladies. He likes 4 of them, and he likes them all to be 26. So, I'll never forget our first interview with Freddie Mitchell.
It was wild.
He brought 2 women with him, one white, one black, and he was like, "Let's fucking party." Started doing Jello shots with everybody. One of the best in the business. We're huge Freddie Mitchell fans on this show. We're about 4 to 5 minutes away. My neighbor was so nervous that he couldn't physically watch it. I understand that.
Nervous about what exactly?
At this point, this is the first honest poll I saw tonight, by the way. Quinnipiac. Quinna Tupac Shakur was on tonight, and it had it at a dead heat. Now, as the first time I've ever seen a poll tied during this entire 2020 election cycle, but they had it tied. And they claim that a lot is riding on this tonight. And if you believe that, then yeah, you do. Me personally, I believe that this has already been decided for voters, but we'll see. How many people have voted, Dan? I think the number went up today.
I think it was like 37 million, 0.5 or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, 48 million have already voted. That's a lot, actually. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't know what to think about that either, because Democrats traditionally vote earlier, but also you have COVID mixed in there. So it's like, are people just mailing in their ballots because they don't want to get sick? They don't want to touch other people. I don't know the answer.
Let's see.
Are they going to wait this out like a heavyweight fight and just make Kristen Welker sit there by herself?
No, she's actually hooking up the mute button to simultaneously her vibrator so that every time she mutes Trump, she gets a little. I mean, every Karen watching this, as soon as they go, oh yeah, he's muted, and they're just going to rub one out real quick.
Do you know what a group of Karens is called? Do you know what what is it called? The
Quran? Is it called the Quran?
The collective noun for a group of Karens?
Is it Quran?
No, it's called a privilege of Karens.
Is it really?
It's pretty good, right? No, I just made that up.
You know, they just passed the Karen Act up in San Francisco. That is no lie. So any white woman calling a police on a black man, you can be arrested for a higher charge. That is dead serious,
That's
by
really
the way.
funny.
The Karen law is in effect in San Francisco. Also, in San Francisco, you can still legally piss and shit in the streets. So if you're looking at Airbnbs in the San Fran area and one of them says no bathroom, don't freak out. You can still get that at a great deal and then just head out in the middle of the night and take a shit in the street.
You can,
and you're totally fine.
By the way, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that about 26% of all votes in 2016 were cast by mail, right? Early ballots cast by mail, which is about 39 million total votes.
Okay.
So the fact that 48 million in a pandemic, that's not really
that crazy.
That's not that crazy, to be honest. I mean, you should expect 60% of the vote probably instead of 26% to come in, and that means people aren't out there that early, frankly.
So including mail-in ballots and in-person votes right now, Texas is currently leading the nation. Yay, we're here. Oh, everything's bigger in Texas, Dan.
You should see 90 million.
I do love Texas.
Vote by mail, early ballot in this election season. Get right around 90 million.
Okay. Yep. Pump up the volume. Texas is number 1. California is number 2. And Florida is number 3.
So early voting started, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And
I voted on the 13th.
We're about halfway through, and we've gotten a little more than half of the vote so far.
How nervous do you think she is right now?
Oh, she's definitely wearing like pads underneath her armpits so she doesn't sweat it out.
Look at that, dude. Why would they pan to her like that? Again, what I want to see is like a heavyweight fight where they wait it out backstage and see who comes out first. You know what I'm saying? Because technically, if this was like the UFC or a championship boxing match, Trump comes out last because he's already president. He's already got the belt, a.k.a. the strap.
I want to see him come out with a belt, championship belt, a long wig, and an M240 Bravo machine gun, the same way that President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho did in Idiocracy. How fucking funny would that be? Instead of a mute button, he just starts popping off rounds into the air. Shut up, bitch.
Yeah. We're probably going to get there. We got some shout outs here. Chris Dupe or Duepe. Whenever I see a tilde over an E, I don't know how to pronounce it. Be best, he says. Trump 2020. Who else we got up here? Two-legged cougar.
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Kristen Welker of NBC
Ross and Dan,
News,
2020.
and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former
Dennis
Vice President Joe
Can I get
Biden.
an oh yeah?
Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates.
Oh
it is conducted under
yeah.
health and safety protocols
I am
designed
kind of
by
nervous.
the Commission's
Oddly,
health
like, it's
security
weird.
advisor. The audience here
I've
in
got
the
no-
hall
I've
has
got no dick
promised to
skin in
remain
this game.
silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except
You've got no
right
dick skin,
now,
Ross.
as we
No,
welcome to the
I don't.
stage
I gave it all away
former
to a
Vice
needy kid in
President
China.
Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
This is the biggest night of her life.
Why didn't
I
they?
feel nervous for her.
Why didn't they introduce them one at a time?
There it is.
Because they didn't want one person to get booed and the other person to get
Biden had a mask on.
praised. Did you see how they did that?
Yeah.
They brought them both out at the same time so nobody could boo the other guy. That's really funny. It's actually pretty smart.
She hits that mute
And I
button
do
already.
want to say a very good evening to both of you. This debate will cover 6 major topics.
Stinking
At the
Dinkins
beginning
wants
of each
Alex
section,
Jones to
each
moderate
candidate
this.
will
That would
have
be
2
amazing.
minutes
I'm actually-
uninterrupted
Tell me about the Chi
to
Coms.
answer my first question.
I'm gonna see
The
him,
debate
Saturday
commission will
morning.
then turn on their microphone only when it is their turn to answer. And the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have
Hi, Dee.
expired.
The commission, so
After
not
that,
her,
both
it's the commission.
microphones
Angel Molina.
will
Oh, the
remain
commission.
on.
Who's the
But on
commission?
behalf of the voters, I'm going to
Show me the
ask you
commission.
to please speak one at a time.
It's gonna
the
be,
goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people
to the
to hear
booth
every
in New
word
York.
of what you both have to say. And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase. More than 40,000 Americans are in the hospital tonight with COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific. How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that
Talk
came
faster.
from China.
Come on.
It's a
Stretching out
worldwide
to 2
pandemic.
minutes.
It's all over the world. You see the spikes in Europe and many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike. There was a spike in Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas. It's now gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I can tell you from personal experience that I was in the hospital. I had
beat
it.
that shit, fool.
And I got better, and I will
trumped
tell
up.
you that I had something that they
What if
gave
he just
me,
said trumped
a
up right now?
therapeutic, I guess they
Great.
would
I
call it.
hulked
Some
up.
people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period
He
of
looks
time,
real
and I
tan
got better
tonight.
very fast, or I wouldn't
Oh,
be here
yeah.
tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all over the world, thousands and thousands a month, distributing them all over the world. It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you lead the country out of this crisis? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control,
China.
in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America. We're in a situation where there are 1,000 deaths a day now, 1,000 deaths a day, and there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on in Europe, as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate. We're starting from a very high rate. The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000 lives. And we're in a circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe, and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that.
What about your fucking vice president whose entire staff got COVID?
The New England Medical Journal, one of the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
I like how both people
President
say opposite
Trump,
things.
I'd like
Trump's
to
like, everybody's
follow
been praising me.
up
He's
with
like,
you in
everybody
your
says it's
comments.
bad.
You talked about taking a therapeutic. I
this,
assume you're
everybody guy.
referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well. And we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with
That's
you
not a
because
country.
this is new information. You have said a
close
vaccine
enough.
is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country will be wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline
I would
realistic?
fucking lose my mind
I
if
think
that
my
happens.
timeline's going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our
Defense Production
generals
Act,
lined up,
bitch.
one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine, and we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by
Surprised
the
it's that
government.
high.
What steps would you take to give
I wouldn't take
Americans
that shit.
confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it,
Because
look
people
at it,
understand virology.
go through all the
pretty much,
processes.
right?
And by the
average
way,
American?
Yeah.
Get the fuck
this
outta
is
here,
the
man.
same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter.
What is this, Game
and
of
he
Thrones?
has
Yeah.
no clear plan, and
Winter's
there's no
coming.
prospect that there's going to be
Where
a
am I?
vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
He's
President
going to
Trump,
shut
your
down
reaction
every
says you
fucking
have no
business and
plan.
make
Have a
everyone
dark
wear a
winter
mask.
And at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic. It was horrible. We didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic, but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he made sure that we had 44 people that were in there in China trying to get to Wuhan to determine what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about using the Defense Act to make sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital.
Joe's fading here.
And he talks about, don't worry.
The drugs
have
not kicked in. This is going to be a rough night for Joe.
There's not another serious scientist in the world who thinks it's going to be over soon.
President Trump, your
Right.
reaction?
I say over soon. I say we're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he has this thing about living in a basement.
That's
People
fucking
can't
good.
do that. By the way, I,
made
as
a lot
the
of money
president, couldn't do
someplace.
that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families. Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, this is dangerous. And you catch it. And, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now I recovered.
And I fucking beat it.
99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I
What
want
the
to talk
fuck kind of
broadly
response
about
was that?
strategy,
He gave an exact
though.
number
You
of
have
the
30
survivability
seconds,
rate, and
please,
she
and then I
comes
have a
back,
question.
yeah, but
Number
they
one,
can get sick. He just
says
fucking said that, you
we're,
stupid bitch.
we're learning to live with it. People are learning to
God
die
damn
with
it.
You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning.
Oh,
that
good,
man or
empty
wife
chair.
going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to
Shut
touch
the
their,
fuck up.
out of habit, where their wife or husband
What?
was, is gone.
Whoa.
Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it because he's never said, you said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous now? What should they do about the danger? And you say, I take no responsibility.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take
excuse
full
me.
responsibility.
Piece of shit.
It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And
There
you know
it
what?
is.
It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry, the warm weather. Don't worry, maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
Before the end of the year. How is that
President
possible?
Look, perhaps just
It's
to finish
not.
this.
In another 2 months.
I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said,
true.
This is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even. And because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You
I didn't
certainly
say should have
did.
called
You
Pelosi,
certainly
and
did.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right, I want to talk about both of your different strategies to handling
He thought
this.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well, let's.
That's obvious.
Do you want to respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden?
Oh my
Okay.
God, really?
Let's talk about your
Said
different
no.
What a cunt.
strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would support new shutdowns if scientists recommended
She's gonna
it.
piss Trump
What do you
off.
say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression,
great question.
domestic and
This is
substance
all I
abuse
give a fuck about is
outweighs
people
the
losing
risk
their
of
jobs.
exposure to the virus?
What I would say is, I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the virus.
Exactly
the
how,
country to have
Joe?
to shut down
Go ahead
in
and
large part.
say your fucking
why
plan,
businesses
dude.
have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living, and why they're concerned. Those other concerns are real. That's why he should have been, instead of in a sand trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating
you would have fucking
with Nancy
same
Pelosi
joke.
and
Same
the
joke
rest
from
of the
the first
Democrats and
debate.
Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the neighborhood, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distancing, do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open until you get this
but a
under
federal
control.
court said you
Under
can't do
more
that
control.
anymore, bitch.
But when
Yeah.
you do
Get
open,
fucked.
give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools. President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank
Like
you,
she
and
didn't
I
even
appreciate
offer him
that.
a response time.
No.
You see
All
that?
he does is talk about shutdowns. But forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all,
Yep.
they're
Roy
shut
Cooper,
down so
Michigan.
tight, and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive.
Barron. He also tested
By the time
12
I spoke
feet
to the
tall on
doctor
his
the
last
second
exam.
time, he was fine. It just
Crushing
went away.
libtards.
Young people. I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist they can do it safely. But just yesterday, Boston became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus
I would lose
spike.
my
What
shit.
is your message
As a
to
parent of
parents
two,
who
I would
worry
lose my
that sending
shit.
their children to school will endanger not only
fucking
their
put
kids,
my
but
kids
also their
back at
teachers
home.
and
Well, it
families?
definitely
I
doesn't
wanna open
endanger
the
the
schools.
kids.
No.
The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse. We have to open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself.
Vice
And that's
President.
what's happening. And he wants to close down. He'll close down the country.
This is what
if
this entire
one
election
person
is
in
probably
in
going
our
to hinge on, in my
massive
opinion. Whether or not you
democracy
believe we should
says
stay open
we
or
should close
close.
it down.
I don't
Vice
know
President
anybody
Biden,
that wants
your
to stay
Simply
closed.
not
No.
true. We ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to safely open, but would they need resources to open? You need to be able to, for example, if you're going to open a business, have social distancing within the business. You need to have, if you have
can't
a
in a
restaurant, you
restaurant.
need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one another.
Oh
you
my
need to be
God,
in a
dude.
position where you can take
live in a fucking cube,
testing
Joe.
rapidly and know whether a person is in fact infected. You need to be able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we can open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So don't worry about it. Come on.
President Trump, let me follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I
On-
will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses
You can't
with
put
no money.
plexiglass up in a restaurant.
Putting
He's
up
he's
plexiglass
right.
is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people. You
But you
just
could-
can't. Take a look at New York and what's happened to my wonderful city for so many years. I loved it. It was vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
Take a look
Vice
at what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does.
Actually, the
blue states
mortality
and red
rate
states.
for
They're
COVID
all
is
the United
at its
States.
lowest point
and look
ever.
at the states that are having such a
85%
spike
lower than before.
in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest.
Wow,
That's where
don't call the
spike is
states in the
occurring
Midwest out
significantly.
when you need their
But they're
votes. What are you
all
doing,
Americans.
dude?
They're all
God
Americans.
damn
And
it,
what we
that's
have
stupid.
to do is say, wear these masks, number one.
No.
Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when you
about-
say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's
There it
the only
is.
one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison.
Whitmer.
Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up
Because
with
it
you
shows.
before we move on to our next section.
And
President Trump,
hit
this
that
week
mute
you
on
called
that
Dr.
one.
Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said, this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic.
What he said is he knew it
didn't
could
want us
be.
Americans
It's
don't
true, though.
panic.
As a president,
He
yeah.
panicked. But guess
They
what?
would fucking panic.
In the meantime, we find out in the New York Times the
if
other
all of a
day
sudden
that,
there
in
was a
fact,
terrorist
his folks
threat that
went
he
to
became
Wall
aware
Street
of,
and said
should
this
he
is a
tell
really
the American
dangerous
public?
thing.
Or should he
And a
try to
memo
do
out of
something
that
about it
meeting,
first,
not
maybe?
from his administration,
Come on,
but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going
one
to give
I-
you
this
30
is one I
seconds to
haven't heard.
respond, and then we're
The
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I have.
You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move
Don't
on.
tell me about Wall
Average
Street.
We're gonna-
contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security.
average
And I do
contribution
want to
is
start
zero.
Yeah.
with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election.
Speaking of Russia.
Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved.
That's the word you're looking for.
They will pay a price if I'm
What's that
elected. They're
third
interfering with
department I
American
wanna shut
sovereignty.
down?
That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with
Texas.
American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's stalking them a lot. I don't think he said a word.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know why he had.
You got a wiretap in the fucking Oval Office now,
I don't
Joe.
know
You
what
can't
he
even get out of your
recently said,
fucking
if
basement,
anything,
you
to the
fucking
Iranians.
chowderhead.
My guess is he'd
I like
probably
using
be more
chowderhead 'cause
outspoken
he's from New
with
England.
regard to the
Obviously.
Iranians.
Come on.
But the
Obviously.
point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election.
Does he
His
really
own
wanna fucking
national
get
security advisor
foreign-
told him that what is happening with his buddy, well, I won't, I shouldn't, well, I will. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian.
This is a
not
huge
true.
mistake by Biden.
And
Yes,
then what
bringing that up.
happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out
now
that
he can go to Hunter Biden if he
everything
wants
is
to.
going on here.
He just
about
gave him an
Russia
opening
is
for that.
wanting to make sure
Huge mistake.
that I do not get elected
Chowder.
the next president of the United States
If
because
Trump's
they
rebuttal
know I
doesn't
know
involve
them,
Hunter Biden,
and
I'd be
they
shocked
know
on this one.
me. I don't
That would be
understand
him
why
showing
this
great
president
restraint.
is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually
not
paying
Trump's
bounties to
strong
kill
suits,
American
my
soldiers
man.
in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO.
You think Trump's wearing a
I don't
diaper
know
right
why
now?
he doesn't do it, but it's worth
No.
asking the question.
Joe's diped up.
Why isn't that being done? Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you.
have to
Let me
respond.
ask the
Yes.
question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife. And you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million.
There it is.
And, you know, someday you're going to have to explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that. And through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, you know, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell
love
you,
when
they were
people
so
say
bad.
this-
They took
use
over
themselves in the third person.
the
Yeah, I love it,
submarine
Ricky.
port.
Always been a
You
big
remember
fan.
that very
Ricky.
well.
Ricky Henderson-
During your
Henderson, master of that.
term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened. And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I
that
think you have to
Bulabaski?
clean it up and talk to the
Bubalinsky.
American people.
Bubalinsky.
Maybe you can do it
Or
right
whatever
now.
the fuck.
Vice
Oh, he's
President
muted.
Biden, you
Drink.
may respond. 30
Stay straight
seconds.
here.
And then I do
I-
want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life.
He's not under
We
oath right
learned
now.
this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever.
Checking
ever.
the tape?
Number one. Number two.
That's a lie.
This is
All
a
right.
president. I have released all of my tax returns. 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return.
'Cause he still owns the
What are you
businesses,
hiding?
man.
Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They
There
even
it
have
is,
a statement
Hunter.
that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not. You're the big man, I
Goodness.
think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about
to
all of this.
respond to
But
that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly.
the mute
You
button,
said you
Kristen,
spoke to
you're
your
losing
accountant
control.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when
She
you
is
can
doing
release
pretty
them?
good
Do you
so far, though.
Have
She's
a
not bad, but
deadline for
you're
when
able
you're
to
going to
speak
release
in
I
mute.
get
the American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
the time.
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you both about
I'd get out of the
questions
taxes
regarding
thing if I
your
was him.
potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
about
about
this
this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years
Everybody
you're going to
knows.
release your taxes.
If he
Nobody
releases his
knows,
personal
Mr. President. What they
taxes,
do
then his
know
children's
is you're
ability
not paying your taxes,
maintain their
or you're
business
paying taxes that are
and
so low.
negotiate goes
When
away.
last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Yeah.
Where's
So-
Hunter?
President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
Necessary
I
violence.
was put through a phony witch
Creepy,
hunt
gropey, quid pro
for
Joe.
3 years.
I like that.
Not bad.
It started
Barbara B. Barbara?
before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. $48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent $1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because
All
the
right.
kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq.
Let me-
Millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has
I
done
wanna see
in
Hunter
China
sleeping
and
behind her with a
for
crack pipe
Ukrainian
in his
energy
mouth.
company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal.
There it is. Drink. Here's the
He
deal.
didn't say
Cheers.
here's the deal. He said here's what the deal. But
We had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said I
Burisma?
did my job impeccably.
it's
That's
the,
the energy
Carried
company.
out
oil
U.S.
company
policy.
that Hunter
Not
Biden was on the
one
board of.
single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing. Number one. Number two,
Well, that was then,
the
Joe.
guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not do because it never, ever, ever happened.
What about the
My
Steele
son has
dossier?
not made money
Yeah.
in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy who made
Couldn't
money
remember the
from
word
China
China?
is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Yeah, you're
President
literally
Trump,
on
do it.
video.
let me
By the
ask
way,
my
you're
question to
literally-
you.
You're
Could
on
I just
video
one thing?
bragging that you got that
Son
prosecutor fired.
Didn't have a job for a long time.
Come on.
Was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this.
Hunter?
183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly.
basis for that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this
no,
is for
there's
you.
new
Since you
shit
took
that just came
office,
out this
Yeah,
week.
there's
You've
a
never
whole fucking
divested
laptop.
from your
Oh,
business.
fuck.
You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to,
GG,
which is,
$69
everybody knows about
for
it,
Hunter's
is listed.
extracurricular
the bank
activities,
account
cocaine.
was in 2013. That's when it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking
Okay,
up money.
President Trump, thank you. We do need to
sucking in
move on.
cocaine,
I do
baby.
want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have,
Take a
of
drink
course,
for China.
President Trump
By the way,
has said
Jason
that they
Rao
should pay
from
for
Breaking Benjamin,
not being
thanks
fully
for listening, buddy.
transparent in regards
Apparently,
to the coronavirus. If you
Jason
were
has a bunch of his
president, would
friends
you
listening,
make
so we
China
apologize
pay? And
if you
please
lose
be
any of your
specific.
friends.
What would that look like?
Sorry.
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules,
China.
not like he has done.
China.
He has caused the deficit of China
China.
to go up, not down, with China. Up, not down.
Like Dr. Evil.
We are making sure that in order to
China,
do business
China.
in China, you
Over
have
and
to
over.
give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well.
Oh, we also got
When
Kelly
I met
in
with
here
Xi
from Whiskey
and-
Zulu
and,
Barrels.
When I was still
Yeah,
vice
Kelly
president,
D.
he said
Made
we're
this
setting
pen
up
right
air
here.
identification zones.
Made me
in
like
the
a
South China
unbelievable
Sea. You
kitchen
can't
table.
fly
Comes
through
in this little
it. I
Pelican
said, we're
case.
going to
He's
fly
making me a
through
bar
them. We
right
just
now.
flew
He's the best,
B-52,
too. Yeah.
B-1 bombers
best.
through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's the way I will run it, and that's what
Look,
we did.
China
and
always
uphold
plays
these
by the
steel
rules, and I
tariffs
think we
and
know
arrange
that.
other
And I think
Everybody
his
knows that.
plan will
Vice
work.
They're definitely
They're
not-
All right,
so
let's
honest.
talk
They're
about North
definitely,
Korea.
they're
Let's-
definitely
don't
not
have to
sewing
respond to
human
that.
faces onto
Okay.
monkeys over there.
Very quickly, and then
Son
we're going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5 billion
Korea.
from
Hammer the
China
like
to
button.
manage after
True.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy,
true.
though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay?
What are-
You've said you're
what are
going
you
to
gonna
pay.
use?
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of
Billions
dollars.
and
I just gave
billions.
$28 billion.
New sanctions?
I just
China.
gave $28 billion to our farmers. because
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't
No,
come
no,
from
yeah,
China.
you know the taxpayers.
I thought they weren't
it's called
allowed to
China.
interrupt.
China paid
true.
$28 billion,
China.
and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President Biden, your response, please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey.
Malarkey drink.
He doesn't want to talk
Drink
about
for malarkey.
the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. and your family's hurting badly. If you're making less than, if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont. They're in trouble.
Scranton,
we should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing we want to talk about.
I want to talk about North Korea. I do want to turn to 10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got
President
elected.
Let's
get off the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you've met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times.
He's dead.
You've talked
He
about
died
your
8 months
beautiful
ago.
letters with him. You've touted
Right?
the fact that there
He's fucking
hasn't been
dead.
a war or a long-range
Probably.
missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you
No.
forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met
Why
with
ask a
Barack
question with 30-second
Obama,
answers?
we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good
It's a
relationship.
very nuanced
and
take
there's
from
no
a guy
war.
like Donald Trump,
And you know,
isn't it?
about 2 months ago,
That sounds like
he
something
broke
I would
into
say.
Yeah.
a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
we
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea
Mute.
conducted 4
Drink.
nuclear tests
Drink
under
it.
the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because
now?
I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's I made it clear as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not,
All of a
it's
sudden,
going
the
to continue.
fucking Democrats
What has he
are tough.
done? He's legitimized
After
North
giving $1
Korea.
billion
He's
to
talked about his
fucking
good buddy
Iran.
who's a thug.
And giving
a
them all their
thug,
prisoners back.
And he
You
talks
fucking
about
kidding
how
me?
we're better off. And they have much more
Hammer the
capable
like button on
missiles,
YouTube right now.
able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden. You
I gotta
said
be
you
honest,
wouldn't meet
Trump
with
is
Kim
lighting him
Jong-un
up right
without
now.
preconditions.
He's
Are there
been able
any
to keep his
conditions under
emotions
which
in
you
check,
would
and
meet
he's
with him?
been pretty
On the
goddamn
conditions
This is
good
what a
that
tonight.
Trump
agree that
presidency
he would
could
be
look like if he
drawing
wasn't such
down
an
his
idiot.
And if he didn't fucking
nuclear
tweet all the
capacity
time, yeah.
to get the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American
Kristen,
families.
they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
gotta
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's
I-
okay. You know what, North Korea? We're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on, 'cause
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
a
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded.
There it
Europe.
is.
Godwin's
Rest of
law,
Europe.
my
Come
man.
on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama
It
is
always
because
goes to
President
Hitler.
Obama said,
That's
we're gonna
Godwin's
talk
law.
about
Yeah.
denuclearization.
The first person to bring up Hitler
we're not
in a
going to
debate
legitimize you.
loses
We're going
the
to
debate.
continue to put stronger and
Unless the
stronger
debate is about
sanctions
Hitler,
on
obviously.
you. That's why
Yeah.
he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And
let's
it didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk
He
about
left
American
me a
families.
mess, Kristen.
President Trump. Okay, we do
They
need to
left
move on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to all
2 or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay,
Hey, let's
move
drink
on
for
to
Hitler.
American
There it
families
is,
and
Hitler.
the economy.
Somebody brought up Hitler.
One of the
Somebody brought up
issues
Hitler.
that's
I knew it
most
would happen,
important
obviously.
to them is health care, as you both know. Today there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away?
Well, they
and
already
have 2
lost their
minutes
doctors
uninterrupted?
with Obamacare.
First of all, I've already
like
done
you said they
something that
wouldn't.
nobody
did.
thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families. Under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine, he won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible job on health care.
That's right.
And we're going to do even better.
Did you fact check that?
Okay,
180
Vice President
million
Biden, yes, this
privately
is for you.
owned
Your health care plan
insurance
calls
plans,
for building on
22 million on
Obamacare. So my
Obamacare.
question is, what
Including
is your
Medicare,
plan if
they
the
were
law is ruled
already on Medicare
unconstitutional
before,
by the Supreme Court?
basically.
You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is
Interesting.
pass Obamacare with a public option. It'll become Biden care. The public option is an option
what's it
that
named
says
after
that
him?
if you in
Classic
fact
white
do not
man.
have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal
Biden care.
in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance, the reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I didn't. Not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance
You
under
said
my
that
plan,
before
nor
in
did they
2009,
under
bitch.
Obamacare.
Yep. And it
They
wasn't
did not
true.
lose their insurance
Sorry,
unless
brother.
they chose.
You should have
they
skipped
wanted
that
to go to
point.
something else. Lastly,
God
we're going to
damn.
make sure we're in a
That was
situation
bad.
that we actually protect pre-existing.
You
There's
almost
no
said back
way
to
he can
court.
protect pre-existing conditions. None.
We
Zero.
pack fudge
You can't
around
do
here.
it in the ether.
Hell yeah.
He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we've been waiting since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious.
What?
The fact is that he's already cost the American
robot
people
is shutting
because of
down.
this terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. And
If
all the
Obamacare
people
went
from
away
COVID are going to
today,
have
all the
pre-existing
people on
conditions.
Medicare
What
would
are they
stay.
going to do?
Yeah.
I have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President
You don't
Trump
know how many
said.
that
He's
is?
accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's your
Say
response
it's
to them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as a whole range of other people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's
Daniel
lives.
Muchler said, I just want to throw it out there, that market competition is not a thing in Democrat-controlled states, so it makes things more expensive.
How many of you home are
I
worried?
agree. I was in North Carolina, and we only have one option.
What in God's
Blue
name
Cross
are you
Blue
going to do if you
Shield.
get sick?
Here in Texas, there's only
because
two.
you've lost your home insurance,
Two is
your
none.
health insurance, your company's gone under. We have to
one
provide
in the
health
state of North
insurance for
Carolina.
people at an affordable rate, and that's what I do.
President Trump,
Excuse me, he was
your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more. Bernie Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like he went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, and he says, oh, we're going to have fracking. And you never asked that question. And by the way, so far, I respect very much the way you're handling this, I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question. He goes for a year. There will be
We
no
have
fracking. There will be no petroleum.
we have a number of topics we're
No,
going to
but
get
that's
to.
a big, that's a big question.
We're going to get to. We're going to get to.
It's the same thing with socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care.
Not
lower
if it doesn't
premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money.
Premiums.
It's going to cost over
Premiums is a word for
$750
insurance
billion over 10
companies,
years
not
to
for
do
health
it.
care.
And they're
Health
gonna
care
have
is I
lower
give you
premiums.
a
can
dollar
buy
and you
into
give
the
me a
better
pill.
plans, the cheaper
That's health
plans,
care. Not
lower
I
your
give him
premiums,
$50 and
deal
if I
with
need pills from you,
unexpected
I'll pay
billing,
him.
and
I'll pay
have
him.
your
Doesn't
drug
make
prices
fucking
drop
sense.
significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine, and when he and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroyed, and destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
It
let's let
was
Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people
I'm Joe
because I
Biden,
disagreed
bitch.
with them.
How fucking
Joe
funny would it be?
Biden is
I would
running
actually
against.
maybe
And
consider
the
voting for him
idea
if he was
is
just
that we're
Joe
establishing
Biden,
the
bitch.
destroy
And then break a
Medicare.
baseball
This
bat
is
over
the
his
guy,
knee like fucking,
the actuary at Medicare said,
what's his name?
if in
Bo
fact,
Jackson.
at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023 with no way to make up for it. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump
He's trying
is
to cut
lecturing me
Medicare
on
because he's
Social
trying to cut the
Security and
price of
Medicare?
pills.
Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of.
seconds,
He
Mr.
tried to hurt
President, and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing,
let's move
but
on.
this
I'm
is
going to
the
move
guy
on.
that when they
Mr.
announced
President, I have to
last
move on
week,
to the next question.
They said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
going to have
will
time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
Biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying
question
that.
very quickly.
Look,
That reality
the
TV time
idea
helped
that
him
the
out a
stock
little
market
bit.
is
I'm not gonna
booming
lie.
is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton and Claymont, the people don't
Stop
live
saying
off
There it
the
is,
stock
drink,
market.
Scranton,
man.
Claymont.
Just getting drunk, bitch.
Yeah.
Just in the last
Christ,
3
Joe.
years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more. $700 billion more, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill. We're going to move on,
401ks are through the roof.
We're going to move on.
The way he
Are
talks
through the
makes me
roof.
laugh.
All right.
And he doesn't come from
401ks.
Scranton. That's like one of the, he lived there for a short period of time before he even knew it.
We're going to move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12
muted
million
him.
people
Drink.
are out of
They
work.
muted him.
She's
And
starting
as
to
of
lose a
tonight,
little bit.
8 million
Yeah.
more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have to get. Unfortunately, that's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets, so they didn't have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they could keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter with these guys?
The bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high-crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By the way,
I want to.
if I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president.
You're supposed to
I don't
say
see
when,
red
by the way.
states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there
except
finds
for earlier
itself
when
in
you're saying all the
trouble.
COVID is
They're
in
gonna
red
start
states, right?
laying off, whether they're
Stupid
red or
old
blue.
fuck. Shut the
Cops,
fuck up.
firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart. They allowed the federal government to deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice President, we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses
Yes.
and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the
She's
minimum
done a
wage?
decent
of
enough
course,
job
support a
tonight, by the way. This is
federal
it's,
I
minimum
do,
it's tough.
because I think
She's
one
done
of the
pretty
things we're going
decent
to have
so
to
far.
do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
Oh
We
my
are going to
God,
move
dude.
on to immigration,
One thing very
but I
quickly.
want
You
to
said
get
we
your
have to help
reaction.
our small
Education at this
businesses
point.
by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping.
Well,
I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont.
It's true.
Every state is different. It should be a state.
Cost of living
You
is
said
higher.
very
We have to
recently-
help. It's very
It's gotta be
important.
state by
we have
state.
to help our small businesses.
You
How
said-
are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said
Not
very
true,
recently you would
by the way.
consider raising the federal minimum
it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to
What I
$15 an hour.
really
Is that
like-
still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really
administration?
like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response, Vice President Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below
There's
the
no
poverty level.
firefighter
And there is no
or
evidence that when you
EMT
raise the minimum
or
wage,
teacher
businesses go
or
out
cop
of
that's
business.
making less than
That is
$15 an
simply
hour in
not
this
true.
country.
We're going to talk
No
about
salt.
immigration.
What is he
We're
talking
going to talk
about?
about immigration now, gentlemen.
That was a
and we're
weird
going to talk about families
segue.
Yeah.
in this context.
Those two
Mr.
things did
President,
not
your
make sense
administration
together.
separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people.
Hombres.
Cartels.
Literal
Bad
coyotes.
And they're
hombres.
brought
Yep.
here, and they used
ride
to
in on
use them
human
to get into
coyotes.
our country. We now have
tiny
as strong a
coyotes.
border as we've ever had. We're over 400
That time I
miles
drank
of
because I
brand
was
new
thirsty.
wall.
Ah,
You see the
not
numbers, and
because
we
of
let
this,
people in,
right.
but they have to
And I've
come
almost
in
had a
legally,
wine
and they
here, so
come
it's
in
gonna
through.
become
But
Right.
how will you
But let
reunite
me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
Let me
families,
just tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, "I built the cages," and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper.
Why does Biden have his eyes
There was
closed
a
like this?
picture of these horrible cages.
going on?
He's looking
and they
at his
said,
notes.
"Look at these cages. President Trump built them." And
He's
then it was
sleeping.
determined they
He
were
fell
built.
asleep.
He's a robot.
In
They turned him off.
2014, that was him.
He fell asleep.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids?
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through
He
gangs.
woke up. He's
Vice
awake
President Biden,
now.
let me bring
He's
you
awake
into
now.
this conversation.
He's awake
Quick
now?
response and then
He
another
woke
question.
back
to you.
up.
These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them
didn't.
at the border
They didn't come from
to
parents.
make it a disincentive to come to begin with.
They send the kids
They
in.
real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot. It's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents.
Some kids
It
were
makes us
raised
a
by
laughing
coyotes.
stock and
God damn it!
violates every notion of
We're
who
not
we are
talking
as a nation.
to the children who
Let
were
me ask
raised
you
by
a question.
coyotes. I have
They
a friend
did
who
it.
was raised by a
We
coyote.
changed the
Every single one of
Your
those
response to
facilities
that?
in
We did
Arizona
not
They
and
built
New
the
Mexico
cages.
and
They-
California
Who built the cages,
and
Joe?
Texas.
Let's talk about
Who
what
built
we're
the
all of
talking
them.
about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about
They were
what we're
built
talking
by
about.
Hillary
What
Clinton and
happened?
Obama.
That's what he's saying
Parents
right now.
were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Let me ask
Kristen,
you
I will
about
say this.
immigration.
They went
10
down.
seconds,
We
and
brought
then I need to ask
reporters,
you.
everything. They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them haven't been
When he
reunited.
tries
But
to
just
sound
answer one
sincere, it's
question.
so funny to me.
Who built the cages? I'd love you to ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which
They
had been a key
deported
promise
more people.
during the
They
administration.
built
It also
They
presided
deported more
over
people
record
than all presidents
deportations as
before
well
them
as family
combined.
detentions at the border before
All
changing
43
course.
before them.
So why should voters
Not
trust
that
you
I
with
care.
an immigration
I care,
overhaul now?
you know?
Because
Fuck.
we made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the
That's
fact
an
is,
indictment
I've
of
made it very
Obama right
clear.
there.
It is.
Interesting.
Within
Shot
100
across the
days,
bow.
I'm going to send to the United States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those
Fine with that.
so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country.
But what
and
about
put
the
on a path to
coyotes?
citizenship.
God
the
damn it,
idea
Joe.
That they are being sent home by this guy. And they
Oh,
want
what are
to
we
do
doing
that,
about the coyotes
is they've
tonight?
gone to a country
I'm
they've
not gonna
never
fucking
seen
sleep.
before. I can imagine you're 5 years old. Your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal.
Somebody get a DJ.
You say, "Oh no, Mom, leave me here. I'm not going to go with you." They've been here. Many of them are model citizens. Over 20,000 of them are first responders. out there taking care of people during this crisis. We owe them. We owe them.
Who's taking their kids down to the Rio Grande for a Sunday afternoon?
To do what he said he was going to do.
Not
Yeah,
me.
I'm not
And
sure
I've
we
changed
owe illegal
without having a
immigrants
specific.
anything.
We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President
Wrong.
Biden, your response.
The catch and release, you know what he's talking about there? If in fact you had a family came across and they were arrested, they in fact were given a date to show up for their hearing. They were released.
They were
And
released
guess what?
into
They
the
showed
United
up
States
for a hearing.
and given a court
This is
hearing.
the first
They
president
never
68
showed up for it.
68% never showed up.
Seeking
I know that
asylum
because I worked
has
at
to do it in another
USCIS
country.
for
That's
the
never
Department of
happened
Homeland
before in
Security.
America.
They never show up for those
67%.
That's never
shows.
happened
They
before
never
in
show
America.
up.
You come to the United
Thank
States and
you.
you make your case.
Thank you very much.
That I seek asylum based on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
So
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move
It
on.
just shows that he has no understanding of immigration or the laws. Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would
Hombre.
come in.
Some
We
hombres.
would take their name. We have to release them into our country.
There it is.
And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case.
75%
When you say
of the
they come
immigration
back,
judge
they don't come back,
assignments in the
Joe.
United
They
States are
never come
unfilled in
back.
the Obama administration,
Only the
by the way.
really.
That was another problem we had. We
I
couldn't get
hate
cases
to
to go
say
to court.
this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But they're
President
very,
Trump, let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the
You
next
don't know
section.
the law, Joe.
Vice President Biden, your response.
Know the law, what he's telling you is simply not true.
It is
Check
true,
it out. They don't come
actually.
back.
Check it out.
It's definitely
All
true.
right, let's move on
But we don't have to
the
worry
next
about it because they
section.
terminated it, so we don't have to worry about
Let's
it.
move on to the next
And you have
section.
525 kids not knowing where in God's name they're going to be.
525 out of the
All
11
right.
million
Let's
that
talk
are in this
about
country
our
right
next
now.
section, which is race
Jesus
in America.
Christ.
And I want to talk about the way black and brown Americans experience race in
What
this
about yellow
country.
people?
Part
Just
of that
black and
experience
brown?
is
That's
something
racist,
called
Kristen.
the talk.
What about
What
red?
It happens
yellows?
regardless
What
of
about
class
Redskins,
and
man?
income. Parents who
Indians.
feel they have no choice but to prepare their children for the chance that they could be targeted, including by the police,
Here's
for no
where he
reason
should come with
other
the
than
crime
the
bill.
color of their
Trump
skin.
should hammer him on
Mr.
the
Vice
crime bill on
President,
this
in
one.
the next 2
We'll see if he
minutes,
does.
I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. I do.
Why did he give it to her?
You know,
him
my
first?
daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has her graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania. in
Megan, go
social work.
Buckeyes.
And you
No.
know,
No.
Yeah.
one of the reasons
Saturday
why I
report.
ended
No.
up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was to learn more about what was going on. I never had to tell my daughter, if she's pulled over, make sure she puts, for a traffic stop, put both hands on top of the wheel and don't reach for the glove box because someone may shoot you. But a black parent, no matter how wealthy or how poor they are, has to teach their child when you're walking down the street, don't have a hoodie on when you go across the street.
gotta go-
Making sure
Trump's
that
gotta
you,
go
in
crime
fact,
bill.
Whether this
From
is
this one.
accurate,
get
what
pulled
he's
over.
saying or not,
Yes, sir,
in
no,
reality
sir.
and
Hands on
statistics
top of the
and
wheel,
perception in the
because
black
you
community,
are,
it
in
was
fact,
accurate
a victim, whether
for
you're
a very long time,
person
by the
making
way.
$300,000
Trump's gotta come with the crime bill.
a year
Yes,
person,
rebuttal.
or someone who's on food stamps. The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America, and we have always said. We've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. Well, guess what?
It doesn't say that. It says
We
all men.
have
are
never,
created
ever
equal.
lived up to it. We've all constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
Crime bill.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, He's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community.
Womp, womp.
And they were called, and he called them super predators.
Nope.
And he
Hillary
said
Clinton
that.
said that.
He said it,
That's
super
wrong.
predators.
That is wrong.
It is,
And they
he
kept
said it the
never
first
lived
debate.
that
It's wrong.
down.
Hillary Clinton said it.
1994, your crime bill, the super predators.
Crime bill, there we go.
Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of
Rotorhead.
Abraham
Watch that movie,
Lincoln,
Rotorhead.
possible exception,
Amanda
with the
Miller is,
exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has
daughter
done
of,
what I've done. Criminal justice reform,
the best
Obama
screenwriters ever.
and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it.
You talking
They
about
might
Dad,
have
John?
wanted to do it, but if you had
He
to
wrote
see the
Apocalypse
arms
Now.
I had to twist
Yep.
to get that done,
wrote a
it
lot.
was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office.
Red Dawn,
2
he
weeks
wrote.
later, they're out
Dirty
saying,
Harry.
gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina.
I like Tim Scott,
He
by the
came
way.
in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response
They
to
try to
that,
mute him
Vice
on that?
My
President.
response
Is
to
that what
that
they did?
is I
Nope, we're
never,
drinking.
ever said what he accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people. He talked about marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were guilty of the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences.
What about the
We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences.
What about the 1,500
Over
people
1,000.
your vice
The very
presidential
law
candidate
he's
blocked
talking
evidence
about is
for
a
that
law
would take
that,
them
in
out of
fact,
jail?
initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be
1%?
no minimum mandatory
One whole
in
percent,
the law.
Joe.
That's why I'm
Mandatory
offering $20 billion
minimum-
to states to change their
Mandatory
state
minimums-
laws to eliminate minimum
That was a crime
mandatories
bill that did
and
that.
set up drug courts.
You
No
wrote
one should
that
be going
law,
to jail
motherfucker. What are you
because they
talking
have a
about?
drug problem. They should be going
Jesus
to rehabilitation,
Christ, dude.
not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's
We
what
got
I'm
Jimmy
gonna
Long
do.
in here, by the
Why
way.
didn't he do it 4 years ago?
Yes.
Why
Jimmy
didn't
Long's
you
in the
do that
chat.
4
Is he?
years
Yeah.
ago, even
Shout
less
out
than
to
that? Why didn't
Brosman.
you
I
do it?
am
You were
not-
vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I'm looking at you now. You're a politician. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President Biden, your response to that, and then I do have some questions for both of you.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some
Excuse
follow-up.
me.
Please respond,
If
and then we're
this
going to have
stuff
follow-up
is true
questions.
about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody's
Take a look
President
at the
Trump,
laptop
I want to
from
stay
hell.
on the issue
Excuse
of
me,
race. We're
take a
talking
look at
about
the
the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to
just
respond to that.
very
There
quickly.
are 50 former
losing control
national
now.
intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And
You
that's
gotta be-
exactly what-
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue
Boy,
on the
boy.
issue of race. Mr. President,
believe
you've
that one.
described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are
What kind of thing to say
I
is
mean, I
that?
don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience.
Dark,
I'm the
huh?
least
Racist.
racist
Canceled.
person in this
What about
room.
the Coyotes, though?
Okay,
God
Vice
damn
President
it,
Biden,
Joe,
let me ask
answer
you
about the
very
Coyotes.
quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel
What?
on every single
Interesting.
racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the
Abraham
escalator
Lincoln's
saying
one
he's
of the most
getting rid
racist
of those
presidents?
Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims. He has moved around and made everything worse across the board. He says about the poor boys. Last time we were on
Poor
stage
boys.
here, he said, I told them to stand down and
poor
stand
boys.
ready. Come on. This guy has a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President
I
Trump,
don't
I'm
even
going
know
to
what
give
a
you 10 seconds to
foghorn-
respond, and then I have a
is that
follow-up.
He
Is that a big
made
one?
a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying-
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now, you have done nothing other than the crime bill,
There
which
it
put
is.
Oh, God.
Crime bill.
tens of thousands of black
Ladies and gentlemen,
men, mostly in jail.
All right, let me-
And you know
let me
what?
a- let me
they
ask
remember
Vice
it
President
because if you
Biden
look
a
at what's
question.
happening with the voting right now,
Let me ask
they
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly.
Ooh,
This is-
Just take a
necessary
look at what's
violence.
happening
Stick
out
that
there.
in
Vice
Hunter's
President
pipe
Biden, let
and
me give you
smoke
a
it.
chance to respond
Yeah.
within
If
this context.
Trump says
Crime
that,
bills that you supported in the 80s
he
and
will.
90s
I'll chug a whole
contributed
one
to
of
the
whatever the fuck
incarceration
it
of
is.
tens of
Because that would
thousands
be
of
great.
young black men
I'll be too
who had
excited
small
not to.
amounts of drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, they're fathers, they're uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs
Nancy
and how
Reagan.
to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing
So that
that,
happened
in
in-
fact,
Why
we should
cocaine?
not
That-
send
because
anyone
of
to
Hunter?
jail
No, because of
for
crack.
a pure drug
They
offense.
designate crack
They should be
different than
going
powder
into
cocaine.
treatment
That's what he's
across
talking
the
about.
board.
But also
That's
Hunter
what we should be spending money. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends.
You also wrote the
They
crime
should
bill.
not be going to jail
Crime bill.
for a drug or an
Crime
alcohol
bill.
problem. They should be going into treatment.
Crime
Treatment. That's what we've been
space
trying to do. That's what
bill.
I'm going to get done
Crime bill.
because I think The American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to the drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
Just to recap the timeline,
See,
80s.
it's all talk, no action with these politicians.
90s.
Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison.
1%.
There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at pattern and practice of police departments and what they were doing, how they were conducting themselves. I could go on, but we began the process. We lost an election. That's why I'm running to win back that election and change his terrible policy.
I just asked one question. Why didn't you do it in the 8 years, a short time ago? Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men in prison. Now you're saying you're going to undo that. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years with Obama. You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress.
Executive orders, maybe?
Well,
that's the answer.
Well, you
Okay.
got to talk them into it, Joe. Sometimes
All right.
you got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on to our next section,
Like I
which
did
is
with criminal
climate
justice
change.
reform. I had
Okay.
to talk Democrats into it.
Gentlemen,
You did what we
we're running out of
already done.
time, so we got to get on to
Okay.
climate change, please. You both have very different visions on
Why is
climate
climate
change?
change?
I don't
President Trump, you say
understand.
that
Foreign
environmental
policy
regulations have
should
hurt
be on
jobs in
this
the energy sector.
debate.
Vice President Biden, you have said you see addressing climate change as an opportunity to
Kenneth
create
Turner
new
says the
jobs.
Director of
For
National
each of you,
Intelligence, John
how would
Ratcliffe,
you
on
both
Monday said
combat
the
climate
information
change and
contained
support
on
job
Hunter
growth
Biden's
at the
laptop
same time?
reveals
Starting with you,
the
President
post
Trump,
last week
you have
is
2
not
minutes
some part
uninterrupted.
of a
So
Russian
we just covered
we
that
have
this
the
morning,
Trillion
yeah.
Trees
On, fake
program.
news,
We
yeah.
have so
News,
many
yeah.
different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best,
Biden's sleeping.
lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big
Biden's out.
standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emission numbers that we've had in 35 years under this administration. We are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses.
True.
I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord.
Correct.
It was so unfair. China
put
doesn't
regulation-
kick in
China will
until
never do
2030.
anything.
America was bearing
Russia
about
goes back to a
82%
low
of the
standard, and we
burden
actual costs,
kicked
yeah.
in
Yeah,
right away.
and
It would have been.
we're not trying to die a hero
destroyed
over
our
here.
businesses.
No.
So
We
you
need our
ready?
country to
We
continue.
have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Hammer
Vice
the like
President
button
We haven't
on
destroyed our
YouTube.
industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes to you, uninterrupted.
Climate change, climate warming, the global warming is an existential threat to humanity.
Nope.
We have a moral obligation to deal with it.
To whom
And
exactly?
we're told by all the leading scientists in the world we don't have much time. We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, they
He
said that
says
25
4 more
years
years of this
ago.
man,
So come
eliminating
on.
all the
If he
regulations
says
that were put
coyotes
in
are
by
dying,
us
I'm going
to
to lose
clean up
all
the
of my
climate,
shit.
Yeah.
to clean up,
Inside
to
my
limit
body.
the limit of emissions will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 500,000 50,000 charging stations
Numbers
on
are
our
hard,
highways
Joe.
so that we can
It's
own
all right,
the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his environmental plan, you know who developed it? AOC plus 3. They know nothing about the climate.
I like this.
I mean, she's got a good line of stuff, but she does nothing about the climate. And they're all hopping through hoops for AOC plus 3. Look, their real plan costs $100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. Right. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6. It's $100 trillion. They want to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. And many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President respond, and we're running out of time, and we have a lot more questions to get to. So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was endorsed by every major environmental group and every labor group.
So what?
Because they know the future lies.
Because they know you're going to pay them to do useless construction.
They know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way,
they're going to vote for whoever gives them the most government
contracts.
contracts.
Think
about the taxpayer,
electric,
man.
Solar energy and wind. He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, $45, $50 an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route
Love you too,
I'm
Matthew.
proposing.
President Trump, please
We
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist who said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet.
I agree. That's why I won't go to solar. It's close, but it's not there yet.
We need
I won't
to
put it in my
compete
house.
with the
There's
world.
only about 10% of the country that can
It's
use
all a
solar,
pipe
right?
dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right,
now,
let me
allow
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape.
Fracking
Put
is
it on your
fucked up.
website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is
Showed
he's
it last
flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025. What I will do with fracking over time is make sure that we can capture the emissions from the fracking, capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it, but it's a transition to that.
I have one more question in this pod, and then we have.
He was
Fracking
against
is the answer
fracking.
for
He
any of this
said
shit,
it.
by the way.
I will
Fracking
show
is
that
fucked
to you
up.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
I am
I don't know.
against
It's a
fracking.
weird hill
Until he
for
got the
both these
nomination,
people to
went to
die on
Pennsylvania,
fracking.
then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking
You said
and or
fracking.
oil
You
on
didn't say
federal
fracking.
Let
land.
me ask this
Chad
final
Butler says
question
you need
in
another
this
bottle of wine,
section,
Dan.
and then I want to
Might.
move on to our final
Let me know.
section.
We'll see how long
President
this
Trump,
lasts.
people of color are much
half
more likely
hour.
to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near
I
them
wanna
are
ask
making
about
them
packing
sick.
the Supreme Court.
Your administration
That's
has
the other
rolled back
big
regulations
topic I
on
wanna
these
hear
kinds
tonight.
of facilities. Why should these families give you another 4 years in office?
The families that we're talking about are employed heavily, and they're making a lot of money, more money than they've ever made. If you look at the kind of numbers that we produce for Hispanic, for Black, for Asian, it's 9 times greater, the percentage gain, than it was under, in 3 years, than it was under 8 years of the 2 of them, to put it nicely. 9 times more. Now, somebody lives, I have not heard the numbers or the statistics that you're saying, but they're making a tremendous amount of money economically. We saved it, and I saved it again a number of months ago when oil was crashing because of the pandemic.
Okay.
We saved it. We got, say what you want about relationship, we got Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Russia to cut back, way back. We saved our oil industry, and now it's very vibrant again.
All
And
right.
everybody has very inexpensive gasoline. Remember
Vice
that.
President Biden,
Sure,
your
I paid
response, and then we're going
$1.68
to have
today.
a final question for
It's
both of you.
$1.63
My
at the
response
Austin airport
is
right
that
now.
those people live on what they call fence lines. He doesn't understand this. They live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute, chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware. And all the more oil
Claymont.
refineries
Yep.
in Marcus
Drink.
Hook and the Delaware River than there
There
is
we go.
any place, including in Houston at the time. When my mom get in the car and when there was first frost to drive me to school, turn in the windshield wiper, there'd be oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them, it matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions the pollutants coming out of those fence line communities.
Okay, I have one final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close
it
down the
falls-
oil
By the way, I
industry?
would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do that.
statement.
Here's the deal,
Well, if
drink.
you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do
All
give
right.
it to solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then
Ohio.
I have to get to the final question. Vice President Biden.
He takes everything out of context. But the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production, by 2050 totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China
to
to
both
do
of
it?
you. No, we're finished with
Is
this.
he
We
going
have
to
to
get
move on
China
to
to
our
do it?
final question. We
No,
have to
I'm
move
going
on
to
to our
rejoin
final
Paris
question.
Accord and make China abide by
Ooh,
what
Paris
they
Accord
agreed
is
to.
really
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
a drink.
about
Really
leadership,
unpopular.
gentlemen. And
Paris
this
Accord.
first
That was a
question
mistake
does
on
go to
Biden's
you,
part.
President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day. What will you say in your address to Americans who did not vote for you? You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me. And I'm going to make sure that you're represented. I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating millions of new jobs. And that's the fact. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to say, as I said at the beginning, what is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that. You haven't been getting it the last 4 years.
All right. I want to thank you both for a very robust hour and a half, a fantastic debate.
Didn't
really
ask
appreciate
about
it.
packing
President
the
Trump,
courts the
former
entire
Vice President
fucking
Joe
time.
Biden. Thank you to
It's
Belmont
shocking to me.
University for hosting us tonight. And most importantly, thank you to those watching tonight. Election Day is November 3rd. Don't forget to vote.
Your mom's
Thank you,
November
everyone,
3rd,
and
bitch.
have a great night.
Your dad's on November 3rd. All right.
Well,
leave it on here in Georgia. Let's see how they leave stage. I'm curious about that. Because this is the final time they're going to be together. Melania's up on stage. We could not see her one more time, brother.
I want that butthole.
I don't know that that's necessary, Giorgio.
yeah, that's
real weird.
Dr.
Look
Jill
at that.
Biden.
Now, when you wear a pattern like that,
first
Jill,
lady,
and you
yeah.
find a mask that matches that pattern, that's impressive.
Probably would have broken that up a little bit.
Flower on flower. It's a lot of flowers, but, that's the Green New Deal. Trump, no mask. No mask. Whoa. What's Biden doing there? He's leading down, trying to get one sniff in. Trying to get a sniff of Kristen Welker. Just
Yeah,
one
what was the
snippy.
lean there? That was weird.
Huh. All right. You can kill it now. You can kill it. Initial thoughts on tonight's final debate for the President of the United States in 2020. Trump showed a lot of restraint tonight. Clearly, that was hammered into his skull by his debate partners and presidents and all that. Whoever is advising him at this point. Actually, I don't think it is presidents. I don't think that any president talks to Trump. Do you? Like, I don't think Bush or anybody
No,
no,
for sure not, because they're all establishment people.
right.
Like, they got into the game because the game was what it was and it was predictable, right?
So do you think like the presidents of banks and Wall Street companies said, "Hey man, ease up tonight, show some restraints, be cool, calm, and
Trump?
collected"?
Somebody he respected definitely told him to take it down a notch.
Yeah, and he did.
Otherwise, he didn't. He wouldn't have done it. So,
Yeah.
and he did. And it's kind of interesting. It's what a lot of people said after the vice presidential debate about Mike Pence. Like, this is what a Trump presidency would look like. I think actually Ben Shapiro said that.
He did, yeah.
This is what a Trump presidency would look like without Twitter. And we saw a little bit of his nonsense tonight, but not a lot.
Not a lot at all, and I think the power to mute the mics, and they, to their credit, they did not mute it that much. I thought they would, to be honest with you. But I think when you know it's happening, I don't know. We couldn't see whether or not there was somebody in the audience pointing to him saying, "Hey, man, I'm about to pump this button," or it's kind of like being in a hospital bed with somebody right there saying, "Nope, more morphine." I'm not really sure about that, but it's strange, man. If you're a Trump supporter or you were thinking about voting for Trump tonight, you have to look at this as a win for him.
I would say so. The audience is saying James Whitlock told him to calm down, and maybe he took that advice.
Whitlock was the guy from ESPN, right?
He
black
and,
reporter from ESPN.
From ESPN, yeah. He and Charlemagne the God both in this within the last 7 days or so.
Jason Whitlock, I believe his name is, by the way.
Yeah, Jason with an O. And they both made the point that Trump is somehow finding a way to speak to Black America. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Democratic Party for years has just kind of like dangled the carrot in front of them. Like, equality, it's right here.
Yeah.
You just got to vote for us.
Yep.
You know, we'll give you upward mobility. Here it is. Mm-hmm. And it's never happened, like, right, in 60 years. So I think at some point people start to lose the ability to suspend their belief. At some point their rationale kicks in, and they're like, is this ever going to happen, or what do we got to do here? And you're starting to see more and more. I mean, Ice Cube and 50 Cent, all these people now that are major Black celebrities who would have never dreamed of saying something nice about any Republican, much less Donald goddamn Trump, right? Who isn't really a Republican. He's something else, right? He's a character all onto his own. But it's interesting to see this. So Whitlock said on Tucker Carlson's show that this is not true, that Black men somehow can't relate to Donald Trump.
Right.
Right. There's been this thought throughout the last 25 years or so that Bill Clinton was the first Black president, right? Because, like, well, he gets it, man. He played a saxophone on MTV. Hell yeah, that's what Black people do, apparently. Like, it's so like subversively racist. Like, oh, we did a couple of things that Black people like. They must fucking love us now.
Right.
I mean, I said the word Black on TV, man.
Yeah.
I'm from Arkansas. Hell yeah. And all of a sudden, it's that. But they never did shit. As a matter of fact, Clinton was a president, and Biden was a leader in the Senate when they passed that crime bill. He wrote the goddamn thing. So this whole thing is bullshit. I'm not at all surprised to see Black people standing up for it. As a matter of fact, MSNBC did a thing with 3 Black women the other day where they were asking them about, there were 3 Black women from Atlanta, actually. Mm-hmm. They were asking them about this and that, about Biden and Trump, and they're like, look, the idea that we should just be beholden to the Democratic Party because of the color of our skin is fucked up. It's fucked up for you to say that or assume it.
Right.
So I think maybe people are waking up a little bit, and that's not to say that it's not to say that Republicans are light years ahead of Democrats right now. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. You can make that decision yourself, but it is interesting to see a group of people who have been traditionally tied to one organization kind of reclaiming their own individuality.
Right.
And putting that back to use. I like to see that. I don't care who it is.
Same. Things that stuck out to me tonight. Again, the court packing thing is a huge, huge issue. Don Lemon, asked Kamala Harris the other nights. They've asked Joe Biden at every single stop he's gone to why she didn't ask him on national television during the last and final debate on such a hot button topic.
Literally every fucking Democratic person in the media has asked one of them about it.
Over and over and over again. I don't know how you avoid that on the national stage.
Because somebody told her not to.
Yes.
So the question is who? Who told her not to ask that question?
Who? And then the foreign policy. I don't understand why you would not bring up foreign policy when, everything that is going on around the world, especially now with the fucking pandemic, is coming from another country. And it was like Trump said earlier, we don't know what this thing is. And I agree with him. He also said, look, Joe, you don't know what it is, and I don't blame you. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. Because it really isn't.
No.
I certainly don't believe that this was one fucking dude who ate a bat at a wet market in China and magically fucking 1 million plus people are dead around the world. I think that's bullshit. I think it was manufactured in a lab in China. And yes, we don't know all the facts. And, Joe Biden saying, look, we're trying to get 44 doctors into Wuhan. It doesn't matter who the fuck you put into Wuhan. It does not matter. You're not getting honest information out of China ever. Same thing with the carbon emissions and all the other shit in the Paris climate treaty deal. You're not going to get honesty and pollution numbers and all that other shit out of China. You're not going to get that out of India or Russia. Why buy into all of it? So I'm not sure what a Republican or Democrat would have done during this pandemic that would have been worth the shit. Other than, look, if you're down to the election on one point of, hey man, they're going to close up the fucking businesses and everything else and make you wear a mask for another year and all that shit. Right. Then it's Biden. If you want to open up and go back to work and not have your businesses collapse, then it's Trump's. So I don't know. What we do know is we've drinking a lot tonight, and it's
Drinking's not a word.
Nah, not even close to one.
No.
But we're making up our own vernacular as we go along tonight.
whatever you want.
Because it's America, and that's what we do here. But if you ask me as a whole, and this is trying to throw my bias out the window, I'd say Trump won tonight simply because he showed restraint, and his answers. He finally got back to what he was successful at in 2016 in these debates.
Right.
I'm not a politician. What the things that I'm doing are unconventional, and that's why people voted me in.
Right.
Versus Biden look, he has been there for 47 years. He was with Barack Obama. If they wanted to fix the black community, why didn't they fix it for the last 8 years with Barack Obama in there? I don't understand it.
No, I don't either. And it's, I would say that I think Trump probably won this one. There's a couple of mistakes he made, sticking on the tax thing too long, but he did that in the previous debate about the abortion and things like that.
Yeah,
like he carried that on longer than he should have. But for the most part, I think he did pretty well.
I also think
he made some mistakes. He made the same mistake more than once, which is a problem. Like he kept saying that Biden made that super predators comment. That's not true. Hillary Clinton said that. And it's one of the things that people hammer her on the most over the last 20 years or so. So I don't know why he is continuing to make that mistake. But a lot of the other stuff he said was absolutely true. That the thing where businesses are dying and you can't do that to people. He said that to Joe Biden. That's true. Not only is it true in principle, but federal courts have now found it true as well. Right. So the idea that he's even entertaining the possibility that he could continue to fucking limit bars and restaurants and whatever other private business in America is in direct opposition to what federal courts in Pennsylvania, for example, have already ruled. So I don't know what his plan is. I don't know if he's trying to subvert the courts or whatever it is, but the individual's ability to earn their own living and take care of themselves on a day-to-day basis is the most important thing about America. It is the premise of America, of individual liberty, right? And individual liberty only comes at a price. It comes at a price in blood and money. And you can only do it if people fought for the right and the people who might take it away are scared to fight again. And it also comes when you have the individual ability to make money and provide for your family. That's what this country is all about.
Yep.
And anything that encroaches on that, a virus, overreach from government, another country, whatever it is my goddamn enemy, because I believe in the Constitution. So this guy, Biden, is my enemy because he and all these other motherfuckers want to shut down my shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not how it works, bro.
And when Trump was talking about New York being a ghost town, it is. And the plexiglass partitions that Biden wants to add to restaurants is crazy. People do not want to live inside of a fucking glass cube every single place they go. Look, if you listen to the show on the regular, obviously, I fucking hate the mask. The thought of wearing that goddamn thing for another year, I wish I could go and vote twice for Trump because I've already voted once. I don't want to live my fucking life like that. Like, I want the freedom to choose and where I go. I also have the fucking, I guess, I don't want to say winner's badge here of having I've already had it, so it's like, whatever at this point, but I want the freedom to choose what I can wear when I go out, where I eat, what kind of businesses I can go into, everything else. I mean, even in Austin, and again, this isn't the president's fault because shit, you can say whatever you want on a presidential level. Mayors can still go in and make decisions for their own cities. Governors can overturn it for their states. Like here, Governor Wheelchair has overturned it here from shit that the mayor's done in Austin with defunding the police and restaurants and everything else and bars. And seeing what our personal friends have had to, the hoops they've had to jump through to just keep their businesses open. Austin Talley and those guys. Like, it's impossible. And all the regulations and, we've got to serve 51% of food to keep a bar open, to serve liquor and all this other.
Stupid.
It's all fucking nonsense, and people are losing their jobs. And when Trump was saying, look, man, you're going to have suicides, the abuse thing was brought up by somebody in our message boards, and I kept seeing it over and over and over again, right? And I thought to myself, what is that? When people are stuck inside their house with, fucking pedophiles or whoever is in your family, and it's we'd be foolish to think that that's not out there, or people who are committing domestic violence and shit like that, then you're going to be stuck with these people fucking longer inside. What's that going to do to people mentally over the years as this continues? If Joe Biden gets in and you have to wear a fucking mask everywhere and you got to stay in your house, how does the economy survive? I just don't see how it's possible.
Well, look, I mean, if something had the confluence of both a high virility rate, meaning it spreads quickly, and a high mortality rate, which means it's somewhere over like 3 or 4% of people who get it die, then sure, yeah, let's give some serious consideration to exactly who it's affecting and how we can stop it from affecting those people, right? Mm-hmm. But when something is 99.97% survivable, to shut down everything clearly doesn't make sense. I think anybody would agree that with those numbers, it doesn't make sense, provided they're not making some political statement, right? Now, why can't we just do that regardless of politics? If your opinion changes on the facts based on from which direction the facts affect you, mm-hmm. that's fine. If you're a human being, a normal person, a voter, you should vote the way that best supports you. And that's how it works. That's market economics. The more people who are affected by that particular thing will have more votes, which means the thing that's affected the most people the most will get taken care of. That's how democracy works, bitch. Right? That's why the electoral college exists, though, is to make sure that a whole lot of people in one little tiny area, like this fucking 6-mile island that has 8 million people on it, doesn't control the entire rest of the United States. Right. It's the reason it fucking exists. It's the reason the 10th Amendment exists, where the federal government has to defer to fucking state and municipal governments. That's the whole fucking point of the country that we live in. Yeah. And if you don't like it, then figure out something else, man. If you want to come in here and try to change the country as it is, you want to start repealing shit from the Constitution and rewriting things, then I'm pretty willing to fight for that, to be honest, because I like this place. I'm a big fan.
Same. And I want businesses to thrive. I want the country to be open, and I want people to have the freedom to choose. Now, as far as lasting impressions tonight, if you were on the fence, and again, I don't think there's many people who haven't made up their mind, but if you are, you had to like the restraint that Trump showed tonight, and then when you go into the ballot box to vote, you think to yourself, all right, great. Yeah, I'm okay with this guy for another 4 years. If that's your lasting impression tonight. Mm-hmm. With Biden, same thing for the Democratic side. I think he gave them everything they wanted, his base personally wanted tonight. Right. So I don't think there is many votes to get at this point. But no, if as far as leaving a lasting impression tonight, both did exactly what they should do heading into
If you're a Democrat at this point in the election, you still support Biden, you've developed a thick enough skin, and by skin I mean a viscous layer of cognitive dissonance over who this man is and what he's done and what he's going to do, which is die within the first 2 years of his term probably. It doesn't matter what happened today, right? If you're a Trump fan, you probably are going to bitch about the moderator, frankly, and how she didn't bring up certain things, how she, anytime Trump made a good point, she made it a point on her own to ask Biden if he would like to respond. And anytime Biden made any point whatsoever, she just tried to move on to the next topic. That was very clear. I don't know if you're a fucking partisan. I am not. I don't give a fuck about either one of these two old white assholes. Couldn't care less about them. So that was very evident to me that happened. So I think Trump fans tomorrow, when you read all the conservative media outlets tomorrow or watch Fox News, that's what they're going to be talking about.
They're going to say it's rigged.
And they're also going to say that she never brought up the court packing thing, which has been the biggest issue of this particular week. Yeah, that was a huge failure on Kristen Welker's part.
Over all of these debates, Amy Coney Barrett is about to get put in next week.
Monday, yeah. Yeah. So she'll be a Supreme Court justice by the end of the day Monday.
So why is that not your biggest question? I don't understand that. But again, I said this on Ross Patterson Revolution a couple of days ago. The way that this was set up going in, it was rigged. I thought Trump did the best he could. And, for Biden, anybody who voted for Biden, he did the best he could tonight. I think Trump could have hurt himself if he went ham tonight and had another performance like the last one. Yep. And he didn't do that. So I think everything is in place. I think this race is going to be razor thin. I'm looking at probably 1.8 is that's my final guess. My Rostradamus prediction. Trump wins by 1.8. We laid out the map. I think he gets those swing states. We'll be live with you on November 3rd for the live election show. And the interesting part to watch that night, if you're watching along with us or you're at home watching something else, we'll be live on YouTube with you with a million guests. It'll be like a 7 or 8 hour show. The interesting part will be to watch those early polls. If Florida flips, if Ohio flips, because on the East Coast, right, the West is always going to report late, but the East Coast and the Midwest is going to decide this election.
Right.
So if Trump gets Florida and North Carolina and Ohio, they've got real fucking problems, because then he's only got to get Michigan, Wisconsin, or a Pennsylvania, and that's it. Lights out, guerrilla radio. The election is over with. Me personally, I think when Big Ten football starts on Saturday, and I'm not kidding when I say this, and I know I'll probably get hammered for being an Ohio State homer. He brought back Big Ten football. Once that strikes up on Saturday, there's going to be a different attitude in the Midwest. All of those teams that play in the Midwest are state teams. Michigan, the whole state rallies around Michigan. The whole state rallies around Nebraska, Ohio, Iowa. All of these swing states, Pennsylvania, Penn States, all of these swing states, he brought back college football. He made that happen. I don't think people are going to forget that either. And I know that sounds fucked up. Of like, whoa, why would you choose Big Ten football over solar panels?
Right.
It's just the way a lot of us think, man.
It's hard to measure. It's hard to measure sentiment in marketing. And look, let's be real.
And that's what's missing from the polls.
Running for president is a marketing situation, right? Sauce_factory over here is talking a lot of shit, saying we'll see you in November. Yeah, we will, brother. We said that in 2016 too, by the way.
We did.
Like,
and I was correct in 2016 as well.
We're at the same level before. You really think that all these people who have been shut down, had their job shut down, 400,000+ businesses now, 60% of which would never open again, right? Never. These are people who poured their life savings and all their work into this stuff. And all these huge companies continue to exist. These huge companies that Democrats spend the midterm elections decrying and talking shit about. But when it comes time to run for federal election, they take all their goddamn money, including the big pharmaceutical industry, which the Democrats take way more money from than any fucking, it's not even close with the Republicans. So, yeah, talk all your shit, dude. I'm not a Republican. I don't give a fuck about these people. But I'll tell you this, you're completely full of shit down there, guy. Completely full of shit.
Yeah, and me personally, I laid out my map already. I was correct in 2016. I missed one state in 2016. I missed Pennsylvania. That's the only one I'm really worried about in this election, to be honest with you. I think the protests and burning down cities and all that shit will eventually swing Minnesota, because they're definitely not used to that there. And now that those businesses have burned down and everything else, I think they'll come out. I think he'll get Minnesota. I think he'll get Michigan. I think he'll get Ohio. I definitely think he gets Nebraska as well. And ironically, Ohio State is playing Nebraska at noon on Saturday on Fox with Gus Johnson. So
they can't both win.
They can't both win, but they can both play at least. And that was a big deal.
No one cares about fucking Gus Johnson. You keep saying that.
Oh, Gus Johnson's the man, dude. We love Gus Johnson up in here. Nope. I'd love to have him on the show, by the way. Make it happen. But I think, again, it is going to be a repeat of 2016. And you're going to have that guy, Chris, what is it? Cizilla, whatever the fuck his last name is.
You're talking about from CNN, Cizilla?
Yeah, with the maps. And he's going to be pointing out small counties and hoping and praying that, grandpa and grandma came out to vote that night. But look, I think it's going to be almost an exact repeat of 2016.
If you're a fan of the show, then you know two things. One, that I don't give a fuck about either one of these political parties. And two is that you know that I enjoy particularly rapid onset misery. So that point in the evening where people realize, because Republicans, let's be real, they're less butthurt these days than Democrats are.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to it's just an algorithm for me. I want to maximize the amount of butthurt I get to experience. So my wish is that it looks like maybe early, the exit polling looks good for Biden and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden Trump starts taking down these fucking swing states. Because I witnessed that in 2016. I was sitting in Oakland, actually, with a group of very liberal people.
Right.
And I was just watching them as the night went on. Mm-hmm. And it got to midnight. And they're like, oh, I can't, can she still win? I'm like, no. I didn't say it, but in my brain, I was like, yeah, there's a chance.
Yeah,
Out loud, but in my brain, I was like, no.
No, not going to win.
He's not going to win. And it was one of the best nights of my life, even though I got in a fight with my ex-girlfriend at the time.
Sure.
After, because I thought it was funny that he won. And she was like, oh, your country's going to be ruined. Look, I'm still here. We're all still here. Let's be real about this. The country's not gone away. As a matter of fact, we had the best economy in the history of the country. So, it was super funny for me.
Yeah.
And I hope to experience that again. I know it's like kind of the people who really got on the Obama train again in 2012 and wanted that same energy, and it wasn't there. But I feel like maybe because of how crazy the left media is gone, we're going to see a lot of that shit. So all the way the polls look right now versus what the actual outcome is going to be so disparate that I'm going to be standing there like, if I could be happy, that would be the opportunity for it.
We will be live on air during this election the entire night.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to be able to see your facial expression.
We will, yeah.
Real quick before we head off the air here, the things that are trending, debates 2020. So clearly there was probably big numbers watching this tonight. Debate tonight is up next. Daniel Jones at 3. Did the Giants end up beating the Eagles?
They're currently up
21-10.
2 scores.
Oh, God.
But
The
Daniel
Giants-
Jones had a 80-yard run where he had nothing but green grass in front of him.
Yep.
And he tripped over his own feet.
Got it. Well,
So,
and the Eagles are still losing, correct?
and we're still down.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
10 now.
20. It's 21-10.
21-10.
6:17 left in the fourth quarter.
Doesn't look
and
good.
But that right there. So that's number 3 on Twitter in the United States of America trending, right? We just had the debates. Probably, if everybody tuned in from last time, you're looking at 71 million people. But Daniel Jones tripping on grass is where we are as a nation. So
That's because Twitter.
If you think that people,
That's because Twitter is manually manipulating their fucking feed. Period.
yeah.
There's no way that more people aren't posting about fucking either Biden or Trump right now than that bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? There's 15 topics from tonight's debate that should be trending versus no one. Who the fuck is watching the Giants play the Eagles right
Millions
now?
of people.
No.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
NFL games get
No,
absurd
the-
ratings.
Not right now. The ratings
Thursday
are terrible.
night games
The
are
Thursday night
terrible.
ratings are terrible, and the ratings for both of these teams are both terrible.
They have a
Still-
combined
still
2
better than
wins.
most
NFL
sports.
ratings overall are terrible. There's no way more people watch. The last vice presidential debate set a record.
Yeah.
There's no way they're watching. There's more people watching than this. I'm sorry. The Eagles suck, and you suck. Well, that's not true. You are fine. But
You're
the
a fine
Eagles-
human.
The Eagles,
The Eagles
do
are terrible.
suck. Yeah,
No, I
they're-
agree. The Eagles are terrible.
It's fine.
Two-legged
myself
cougar.
in the- I'm
Kristen
questioning.
Welker is trending number 4. People are lauding her performance.
She did all right.
Look, she kept everything under control
As best as she could.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
As far as controlling the debate, she didn't do well at being like not exposing how fucking clearly biased she is.
Yes.
Go back and watch the tape. If you're a fucking Democrat or liberal out there and you're willing, you have the fucking bravery to watch this and challenge the way you actually think. Go back and watch every time Trump makes a good point at the end of one of his fucking time periods. How often she offers Biden a chance of response, and then do the inverse of that. See when Biden makes a point that you think is good, and then see how many times Kristen Welker offers Trump a chance of response. 0 times she offered him.
Right.
0. I counted them.
Yeah.
So if you think that is fucking unbiased, then you're a cunt.
Yeah.
You don't give a fuck about the truth. You just care about your own side. And nobody has time for that bullshit anymore.
No, but what I will say is the most important thing in this entire debate is trending number 6 in the country currently on Twitter, and that is coyotes. And that is real. So coyotes is trending. Thank you, America. You're starting to care about the things that I care about. China.
Coyote Lives Matter, and Two-Legged Cougar asked if they need to buy tickets for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
They do not.
They do not.
The
It is
election
free
show
for
is
everyone.
free. It's going to be out of control, so good luck with it.
Yeah, the only thing you need to get in there is a body temperature somewhere roughly in the 90s. Do your best.
All you have to do is be alive, no
Yeah.
mask. We don't really care. China is number 7. Republican Congress is number 8. Abe Lincoln. Good to see Honest Abe back in there in the top 10. Number 9 on Twitter,
Maybe
Obamacare.
DDL gets some love.
I hope so. God, well, he already won the Oscar for it. DDL's the best, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'm sure he gets some points on the back end of that. Come on.
I'm sure he does. Number 10 is Obamacare. Number 11 is the Poor Boys. I forgot about the Poor Boys tonight.
The Poor Boys, yeah, that was
Poor
funny.
Boys were
was
a good one. Chris Wallace is 13, so they're saying how much better Kristen Welker did than Chris Wallace. I agree with that.
Yeah, Chris Wallace was terrible.
Scranton at number 14. Drink one more time.
God damn it.
Yeah, Scranton people are real amped about Scranton and the drinking game that was Scranton
sucks.
tonight. North Korea comes in. Central Park 5. It says Joe Biden brought up the Central Park 5 in response to Trump's claim that nobody has done more for the black community than him during the final presidential debate. What was the Central Park 5? I didn't hear that line.
It's those 5 dudes that were
No, I know what it is, but I didn't hear Biden say it in the debates. You guys didn't hear it either?
I know he said that Trump kind of lobbied to keep them in jail or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So, yeah. And then rounding out the top 20 here, we got Rick Santorum.
What?
Perry Mason. Danny Dimes is back up in there. The mute button. Bernie Sanders, the moderator. Least racist. Malarkey made it. Another drink for Malarkey.
Yeah, by the way, Daniel Day-Lewis has won an Oscar for 1/10 of his performances.
Yeah, he's the best.
Do you understand
He's the greatest
how
of all time.
crazy that is?
He's the greatest of all time. That's not that crazy. But that's where we are. Look, I think if you ask both sides, they will equally tell you they probably thought they won.
Yep.
And it doesn't really change too much to me.
No.
There's probably 15 voters somewhere that are like, well, my mind has changed tonight, and that's it. So that's what we got. It wasn't as crazy as I expected.
No.
I expected more chaos. I think the threat of the mute button helped. They'll probably end up using that in future debates, one would imagine. And I'd be really curious to find out where this list of questions came from.
Yeah.
And who was who had the final say.
Right.
Whether it was Kristen Welker, the network, or somebody higher up than that. Because there was a lot of missed ones out there that I thought were actually important for the election that weren't brought up. So it is what it is, kids. We are where we are, and on November 3rd, you can go out and vote or not vote. We're not going to tell you who to vote for on this show. We can tell you who we want to, but I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. Go stay at home and do coke in your pajamas if you want to. Shout out to Ranch Water, Lone River, for the drinks tonight. We appreciate it. It's definitely a Texas drink, and I'm a gigantic fan. I'm a gigantic fan of their work. And then our Harry's delivery came in today. Harry's Razors.
Finally. Yep.
They're going to be a new sponsor on the show. And Liquid IV is going to be pounded tomorrow morning. Promo code Drinkin Bros for 25% off at Liquid IV, because I'm going to need that in my water tomorrow. We enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in with us for all of these debates. If you're going to bitch about the president, whoever it's going to be, the next president, go out and vote. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. I think a lot of people just sit home and bitch on these message boards and they don't actually vote. Like, no, you don't get to bitch if you don't fucking vote.
Yeah, you got to get out there.
If you don't want to vote, we don't care, but just don't bitch in the meantime. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. We are the Drinkin Bros. Good night, everyone.